Matt Corral today is not out there?
Yeah, they had a tragedy in the family, so just dealing with that with his family. So we it's voluntary, but we told him just take some time and just worried about him and his family right now.
Might be going a little
I have no idea. Called me this morning. Called me at 5:30 this morning. So I just said, hey, take the morning, and we'll check in with him later.
It's kind of like a broad, weird question, but is OTAs more important now for this team and kind of everything in the new install than maybe ever before?
I don't know if it's ever. I mean, like last year was important because we hadn't had one the first year, so no OTAs the first year. Last year I think was important. This year, obviously, having Ben be here, but at the same time, we have a lot of new guys on defense. From Damian Wilson to Corey Littleton to Matt Ioannidis to a lot of guys. But we also expect the guys who've been in the system to keep taking their level of knowledge up a notch. So I think it's great to have the full off season this year. We had 2 weeks of phase one, we had 3 weeks of whatever it was 3 or 4 weeks of phase two, and the full OTAs. So we're trying to take advantage of everything that we get.
Have you seen anyone step up as a leader that either you didn't expect or that you wanted to?
I think we have a really strong nucleus of leaders on the team, a group of guys that have been here for a couple of years that know what to expect, that are kind of galvanizing and coming together. And I think that's important. At the same time, I think we have a lot of guys bringing new guys from, coming in from other places that are whether it's Corbett and Hecker bringing Super Bowl experience from this year, or guys who played a lot of football. I think those guys are blending in really well. So we're trying to make sure we grow the locker room, the leadership and the football all at once. I've been really pleased with what's happened so far.
Matt, how much does having Ioannidis help Derrick Brown inside? I mean, obviously he's had some good 2 years, but he's had some moments where he's inconsistent. So how much does having a guy like Matt Ioannidis with him help him out?
Yeah, I think Derrick came into the league. Obviously we had KK the first year. I don't know if you saw KK at practice. It was great to have him there. He's one of my favorite players I've ever had a chance to coach. Was one of the best leaders. Unfortunately, got hurt way too soon, but his influence is still felt around here. Obviously Daquan Jones did a good job of that last year, being the veteran in the room. Matt's a pro's pro. He's in here at 5:30 in the morning. He doesn't leave till 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Takes care of his body at a high level. So any young player on the D line can look at Matt as a guy going into year 8 and say, okay, hey, I want to do that. I want to, how do I take care of myself? How do I prepare? I think Derrick Brown has been one of the guys, to your question earlier, has really stepped up in terms of his progress and development this offseason. He came here to OTAs in shape. He worked out here for a long time. He's made a lot of great changes to his diet. I can't tell you what they are. He just looks good. He's leaned out, and he's moving really well right now and playing really well. So I'm excited about his progress, and I think a part of that is probably Matt's.
How much of it do you see with Matt? I mean, obviously when he's healthy, he's a pretty good interior pass rusher. So how much do you see from Derrick Brown so far that he can maybe take that next step in that area?
Well, we know Derrick can be that. I think part of Derrick's part of Derrick's growth is recognizing what his strengths and weaknesses are. You can't try to be somebody else. You can't be 335 pounds and watch a 290-pound 3 technique and say, I want to be like that. You've got to find the things that you do really well and build off of those. And I think the addition of Coach Pasqualoni here has been really, really good. I think his methodology and teaching progressions are excellent. I think you can see Matt and Derrick both adjusting to it. I expect Matt to be a guy who leads by example, but at the right times say poignant things to people. And I think one of the great things about Matt is people know that A, he's done it at a high level, but B, also that he's coming from the right point of view. He wants to help you be your best. They won't take it defensively, and they'll grow.
What have you seen from Deonte Brown and his development during the offseason?
Deonte has a ways to go still. He's a young player with a lot of talent, but he's got a ways to go. And I know Coach Campen sees the talent in him, talks about it all the time. So Deonte, to me, he's just got to, he's got to make sure that when he shows up to Wofford, he's in great shape. His body weight is where it needs to be. He's got power, he's got balance, he's got athleticism. He's someone that we're counting on, as being, hey, someone that can be in the rotation for us. But he's got some work to do. He's getting better every week, I think. But he's got the next 3 months are going to be really pivotal for him.
In what ways can Jeremy Chinn, reach another level of where y'all want him to get to?
Yeah, I think, settling in at safety last year, excellent open field tackler, can put him down in the box, great blitzer, I think he's made some great interceptions over the last couple of years, but just being someone who's consistently productive on the ball, I think is really important for him. I think Coach Wilkes coming in here, I think Steve's done a great job of really working with the safeties on being a little bit more of quarterback visual, hoping that we can up our turnover percentage on defense. And I think Chinn's a guy that we're counting on to do that, and we'll do that.
Matt, you talked about blending and guys coming together and working and learning and that sort of thing. From the coaching standpoint, coaching staff standpoint, how's that blend been? Because there's a lot of new faces, other guys with different experience levels, that sort of thing. I mean, how's that been for you to see that group of coaches and yourself come together and kind of forge everything together?
Yeah, I think it's been excellent. When Phil had history with Steve Wilkes, so they kind of come from the same. They have a lot of mutual friends. This is kind of the history I'm talking about, like in coaching circles. So they kind of come from the same bent and see things the same way. So I think Steve's really been able to advance the secondary, kind of knowing Phil's vision as a coordinator. Coach Pasqualoni is someone that I've known for not only known for a long time, but looked up to for a long time. And so his experience as a coordinator in this league and as a head coach, I think brings a lot to the defense. And I think both of those guys are going to be really strong. Great coaches, great ideas, opinionated, all those things, but at the same time, very respectful and understand that we all have to be aligned. So I think that room is as strong as it can be. Ben, we're running the offense. Ben's broad. I've talked a lot, about he's incorporated some things that we do well, but we're running. We brought him here to run this offense, and Campen, Joe Daly, all those guys, they have a lot of experience together. It's really just kind of like me, Jeff Nixon, maybe getting used to working with Ben. Ben's a great guy. I go sit in his office every afternoon, and he and I just kind of debrief. And the great thing is when you have guys like that, I can go do some of the things that a head coach has to do, some of the things you guys wouldn't believe that I have to do, that you take you away from the football. You have to have coaches that are doing football while you're doing your administrative duties. And it's great to have coaches like I don't have to worry about, hey, is Coach Pasqualoni in there drawing the cards? Is Ben worried about the install for tomorrow? I mean, they are pros. And then I think the last thing I'll say is, I think Chris Tabor's done a great job for us. I think there's a real emphasis on the special teams. I feel good about our specialists. But I think Taves is someone who keeps it fun and entertaining and energetic. I think the guys are gravitating towards him. So I think it's been a really good mix adding those guys in, and I'm excited for it.
And the working together aspect of it, though, because you've got a lot of guys from a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different ideas, and that's all got to mesh together. Aside from what they do in the day-to-day, I mean, as a philosophical standpoint, and how is that blending coming together?
We didn't hire anybody that we didn't feel like was an adult, like was someone that was going to come in and, we don't want. We never want to be around people that are just yes men. You want to be around alphas, leaders, people with great ideas. At the same time, we're going to debate, we're going to argue, we're going to do all those things. But when we decide something, we're going to carry it out. And so, we try to, I try to operate as a head coach, and we try to operate as coaches. I think with the concept of why all the time. Like, you have a great idea, well, why? Why do you want to do that? And if someone can articulate why and it makes sense, we do it. So. But I think the personalities are all coming together in a really nice way. I really like the staff. They're enjoyable to be around. I think the guys who've been here have done a lot of legwork to get us to this point where we are right now, and the new coaches have been nothing but great.
Matt, how have you seen Brian Burns kind of adapt to having more focus on him this year in the absence of a Hassan? I mean, does he understand that there's going to be a little more pressure on him this year?
I don't know that there. I mean, obviously Hassan was a great player. We're counting on Marquise Haynes to have a great year, Yetur, some of those other guys. But I think Brian got chipped. He had all the things that a good pass rusher gets. But you know what? The best pass rushers in the league, they get all those things too, and they continue to produce. And so, Brian, he's a mature man. Like, I think he just has to control what he can control, and that's his stance, his get off, his pass rush moves. He's really working. He came back in great shape, 255 plus pounds. He'll work to keep that weight. What I think a lot of people don't know is Brian. He stays here in the building as long as anyone does every day, taking care of his body. I mean, he's really diligent about his process, and so it's good to see a guy that went to the Pro Bowl isn't satisfied. So I think he just has to he has to know that he's going to get a lot of attention, but he has to just that's what great players do. They get a lot of attention. They make plays despite of it, and he has to just work his way through it.
Is sustaining 255 hard for him just because of his build and how naturally lean he is?
I think he can do it. I think 255 is the right weight for him. I mean, if he plays at 250, 255, I mean, he's come a long way in 2 years. He's allows him to be more rugged, more durable. He's worked really hard at his body. I'm proud of him for that.
You used to talk often about the locker room presence Hassan also brought here in that year he was here. Does Burns have that in him? I know he's a little kind of a different makeup than Hassan. Do you really need him to do that?
I just need Burns, really to be himself. But I think he has a lot of that. Like he's engaging. Anytime you have a guy like that who spends as much time in the building as he does, they're going to have an impact on people because they're around everybody. So, leadership in today's pro sports. Really, can be. It's not the old days of just having maybe like one captain or two captains. I think you can have like kind of a strong unit, and everyone can kind of lead in the way they feel comfortable. I think, Shaq and Christian bring a ton of leadership to this team and experience, and they kind of lead in their own way. But guys like Jeremy Chinn and J.C. Horn and Deonte Jackson, Frankie Louvu, Brian Burns, they bring a lot too, and maybe it's a little different than Moat and now Corbett. So we're just kind of wanting people to be really authentic, just be themselves. But that group having kind of like hey, what's our standard as a team? We don't want this to be a coach-led team. We want this to be a player-led team, and we want it to be a team that's led by, hey, these are our standards. These are the way we're going to practice. The last few days have been hot, and to have our guys practice as long and hard as they did today was really impressive. So, they were really, really competitive, but at the same time being smart, in terms of protecting each other, not being physically competitive, but being in the situations, knowing what's happening. So, I think when you have guys that have a high standard and hold themselves to that standard, you have a chance. So I think Brian definitely can be that person. And it's really easy for me when your best players are guys I can point to the young guys and say, you have no excuse. Look what Burns does. Look at the way he takes care of his body. Look at what, Shaq's in here every morning. He has a breakfast club weightlifting group that he lifts with, at 6 a.m. And if you walk through the weight room between 6 and 7, they're going to make you do a 4.5-minute plank, which I made the mistake of walking through there. It's not fun, And so just a great culture that Shaq's developed in the morning. And then you have guys like Brian who are there in the afternoon. So it's kind of cool to see, the leadership kind of diffuse amongst a core group of guys that feel pretty comfortable with it.
Having moved on from Hassan, does your defense have to change some, or are you able to plug in Marquise?
Yeah, we thought Marquise, Frankie, Yetur, they were all ready for that role. You look at Marquise's successful, pass rush percentage based upon the attempts he's gotten, and we feel like he's ready to take a step in his career. We feel like Frankie can do that. We feel like Yetur could be a guy that can, Yetur has to stay healthy, but Yetur's a guy that can be an end and a 3 technique on pass rush down. So we felt like we had the depth to be able to count on those guys to make those plays.
Is he healthy now?
He's out right now, got a little hamstring.